to Name, I believe it is, talking about how, when I brought up the boss subordinate
Hello.
relationship, how you saw that more as a plus because that's something that people are able to navigate or have at least like mechanisms, the ability to navigate. I want to point out the reason that any sort of relationship between colleagues, like there are processes in place, usually by that company, where you have to report it to HR.
Should you sleep with streamers or not?
Certain safeguards in place to.
I was supposed to.
This is like Toby Flenderson's favorite panel.
Is taking place, that there's no sort of retaliatory measures that happen should something.
I was supposed to be a part of this, but apparently there were too many people, and I don't stream a lot, so I got cut out. And now I'll just watch it, just for fun. I haven't streamed for a while, so this will be a chill stream. Nothing too serious.
That those types of mechanisms simply aren't present in something like Twitch. Like you can't report your hey Twitch HR, I banged this the streamer, so just as a heads up, so I don't get exploited.
No one's watching
it's just a little more tricky. Again, not to say that it can't be done, but it takes a very high degree of emotional intelligence and communication skills to be able to navigate a really tricky situation like that. And I don't know that those things are commonly held skills among the popular streaming community.
You have to kind of know what the situation you're getting into.
But a lot of people don't. That's the problem.
Well, that's where you tell them ahead of time, right? You say, look, you're going to fall in love with me. And I don't mean like you already are, right? Like it's about to hit fucking home.
CTV, not everyone is like you, because in your case, yeah, everyone's gonna fall in love with you, CTV. That's always gonna happen.
What the hell is going on?
Also, I'm wondering how could it not be exploitative to sleep with a fan? Like in what you guys were saying that like it could be exploitative, it could not be. I'm wondering in what situation how could it not be exploitative? Like by nature, I think their attraction to you is a kind of exploitative in my opinion. You know what I mean?
And I would like to
who there though for that though.
What's that, CTV?
Who's exploiting who in that though? It seems like that person, they obviously have all of the power in the situation, and essentially it just comes down to, a few key factors like, does this person have a criminal record, right? That's probably a good
I'm
thing
saying like I'm saying like from the from the fan's perspective, right? The fan just wants to get close to the artist because they have like like special feelings about the art that they make or whatever, and so they want to do anything they can to get close. And so that inherently, I think that dynamic makes it that the relationship that kind of attraction is exploitative in my opinion. It's like exploitative it's exploitative in my opinion to like capitalize off of that.
And this is just like anecdotal, but I have an example of like in the music industry, there was this woman in the 60s, 70s, like
Will this stupid thing work?
hippied out lady who was doing all the big festivals, Woodstock, etc. She was sleeping with a bunch of rock stars. She slept with Hendrix. She slept with like Jimmy Page, some like big. She had this thing where she would make, and she has a collection of a bunch of like erect penises from rock stars.
Amazing.
And she's really
amazing.
Interviews of her, she's happy she had those experiences. She's happy she had those one-time interactions with those famous, talented people. And she obviously, it's just anecdotal. It's just one example. Obviously, she didn't feel exploited. She got something out of it. The artists got something out of it.
So I agree. There are definitely, like, I guess those you could say the people who enjoy the exploitation, maybe. But in my opinion, well, no, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Give me just a moment. Sorry. Can we just give a moment for a paradigm, because I know that he raised his hand initially, and then we'll like loop back around.
Appreciate that. Thank you. I lost the thought, but I'm getting it back. That's the problem, though, is that the exploitation is, when we talk about streamers, we're talking about a very specific.
Like, you're bringing up example of someone who enjoyed it, but like not everyone's gonna enjoy it. A lot of people will be hurt.
Like, I'm just reading your words and I've seen your profile picture and I think you're kind of cute and you say a lot of dumb shit on the internet. Like, what's up? Like with streamers, it's like you're in my house. Like, I think that you're gonna come into my house when we're about to do the thing and you're going to start describing parts of my house that I'm like, how did you know that? Like, it gets creepy. So like, you're already in my, like, my space, my world, and I don't even know who you are. Yeah, I'm gonna get that ass, but like, that causes a whole level of problems. Like after, like, did you remember? Like, imagine them typing in your stream. Do you remember? Did you remember to do the dishes? Like,
Yeah, but that's kind of
He's
the
right.
thing, though, too, right? If they walk in and obviously they know their way around, then when I tell her I'm hungry, I want to go get a fucking sandwich, right? Go get me a fucking sandwich. You know where the fucking bread's at.
CTV is such a
Slide
meme.
of that mayo
They're just
on and
making stuff
motherfucking
up.
bring me a bologna and cheese. I'm fucking hungry. I know you know where the kitchen's at, so quit fucking.
True, my fans would know I don't like olive oil.
In that type of
Yeah,
situation,
you gotta turn the negative into a positive here, and I feel like too that like with the people thinking that
What
there's
the
a
hell
possible
is going on?
exploitation, right? Is there an assumption too that you're going to be able to deliver right on the climax of the evening? There might be, right? What if you don't actually deliver on the
Are
climax?
we just
right?
memeing
You
with
leave them there,
CTV now?
they're
I was
disappointed,
coming
right?
on here to be
Well,
serious.
They're not going to have such a positive association with the meeting, and clearly we're exploited, right? So I mean, I can definitely make the assumption and know that they're going to get what it is that I'm planning on giving them for the night. But I'm just want to point out that, like, if you're on that side, you got to have that assumption as well. So,
Can I quickly ask a question? Is there a differentiation for you between whether or not somebody sleeps with their fans if they're like a musician as opposed to streamers? Does it make it more unethical because we are streamers, or is it unethical for all famous people to do this?
I would say that any famous person has a degree of responsibility to not.
That's actually a good question.
The feelings of their fans, because even if you can argue that a streamer's fame is a little more intimate, people can still showcase like a similar amount of enthusiasm when interacting with a rock star, even though they've never seen the inside of their home or interacted them in any direct way. So I would say all famous people have some level of responsibility when it comes to not exploiting the feelings of their fans and the ways in which they interact with their fans.
At this point, I'm not putting anything important about this.
In a non-exploitative
I mean, it's not
way,
that
and in
best
ways
of
that
much of
don't
a
harm the other person or set up
good
unhealthy expectations.
topic, right? That you can talk about it.
So I wanted to say really quick,
In
like,
most
I think that there is a
situations,
big
it is
difference
exploitative.
between the certain levels of fame. Like, if you're like a person in a band, it's not uncommon for your partner, if you're like a band person, to like come and watch your band play or listen to your favorite song and things like that. But it's the same words over and over and over. It's a piece of art. Like, I look at it like if it's an actor, it's a piece of art. I do think that there is a distinction, and I think you're right with the nuance side of like, well, let's make sure.
Tell me how you really feel.
It's like, I'm this famous person, do these things for me, kind of like what other words were coming out. But I think honestly, like when it comes to specifically streaming, I think that there is.
I don't know if you don't feel very talkative right now.
For things to get a little bit.
I don't know if the mic is working or not. No one's really watching.
I think it would be kind of creepy if I was like dating somebody or with somebody and I was like, even if it was like for one night, I'd be like, oh my gosh, it would be like, I don't know. It feels like it would just mess up my community. I know it's more maybe my own personal preference because I just don't think it would be good for my community if I'm known for like sleeping with fans every now and then. I don't know. I think there is a big distinction between the two.
I guess the only distinction there is whether if it's kept private or if it's made public, right?
That's another thing. Also, if you're a streamer and you start sleeping with fans, you don't know these people that well, but they know you very well. They
Yeah.
not only know everything you've said publicly on stream, but they know something really intimate about you, possibly your sexual interest, possibly your sexual activity, and
Yeah, but
you know
Sorry,
so do
beat you
random
to the
people on the street
punch.
that you sleep with on a day to day that don't know that
the
you're a
difference
content
is
creator.
the random person on the street doesn't necessarily know
Any beat
everything
you to the
about your
punch. Damn
career
it.
or how
Any
to
streaming?
exploit what they've just
I
learned
should have
about
looked
you
at that.
to try to take like aim at your career, right? Let's say
But
that
what
you're
if
No one's
but what
gonna
if
watch me
someone
now.
but what if someone you're sleeping with does get familiar with your content and your career, et
well,
cetera, et
that's a
cetera?
possibility, but it's a lot less likely. And because the thing is, there's a chance that somebody randomly you meet on Tinder finds out about your career and then they go do it. True, but there's a lot of steps there that need to happen. There's less steps that need to happen there for somebody who already knows about your content, has already watched a ton of your content, to then use that private, intimate moment against you later.
And also, I want to say, I think, kind of like there's also a difference between the streamer and like a big artist, for example. I think the streamer one is even maybe at times worse because a big artist you might have no expectation, like you were saying. She just wants to have the mold of the erect penises or whatever, right? Because it's like a one-off. They know that this artist is like only in town for the night, and they're like, this is their one shot, whatever. Then that's one thing. But a streamer one is even crazier, I think, because it kind of gives people, that feeling of like, I don't know, deeper connection, I guess. Streamer obviously has a
Heem is
deeper
right about
connection
this.
than just listening to an artist's music. A lot of people don't even know artist band names, let alone like their, spend hours with them and stuff.
Yeah, but there's
Some
still
people are crazy.
there's still a comparable parasocial bond
Some
there,
people are
though.
really, really crazy.
Like
Between the music and the streaming?
Yeah,
I think
I don't know if there's
Streaming
any
is a
way
bit
one
to
more
actually
second.
intimate.
determine someone's parasocial like the parasociality between a streamer and an artist. I don't think there's a way to determine the levels there, because I feel like there are people that react in very similar ways to both artists and streamers.
And you feel
Okay,
the
so we're
bullet.
gonna have Heem speak, and then we're gonna have Name, then Maddie, then CTV.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could say like there could be someone who listens to an album like obsessively 1,000 times in a row versus someone who just drops by a stream and finds the person attractive and reaches out to them. But like I think in general, it's pretty safe to say that there's a reason why streaming has the biggest like return for content creators, right? Like you can with 100 viewers be making like pretty decent like side money. Whereas if you have like 100 listeners of your music, you're not even going to be touching that same kind of like
I'll be back.
monetary return,
I
right?
need
So
to
I
go
think
to
the
the
monetary
washroom.
return of streaming suggests that like it's obviously more like of a parasocial thing than any other medium, I think.
Okay, so now we're gonna go to Name, then Maddie, then
Yeah.
CTV, then Dylan, and then Paradigm.
So I agree with what you're saying, Heem, now, and what several other people have been saying, which is that in the vacuum, the parasocial aspect of streaming does make it a bit different from like a celebrity, a traditional celebrity. But I'd like to add, though, that a lot of celebrities are very, very followed through social media, through celebrity media. And you see those same parasocial dynamics emerge then of people learning a lot about their lives, speculating about their emotional state, their psychological state, imagine like creating all those like parasocial connections between them and those celebrities. So you can still have that with more traditional forms of celebrity. And I
don't know. I would say I don't know. I guess you could say I don't know. I would still classify maybe like there's a lot of celebrities that are not like social media. I think is kind of bridging the gap between these two forms. Like you're saying, Insta stories and stuff like that. But I think yeah, like even you'll see Insta people that are massive, right? Have hundreds of thousands of followers, but they don't have the monetary return from their fans as streamers get. Like I think nothing touches streaming in that way.
Oh, yeah, and the other thing I want to say, sorry, I remembered, sure, the monetary, but we're more talking about emotional connections. Which
well, why do you think why do you think the monetary comes, right?
But you don't necessarily monetize. You don't monetize like an Insta story in the same way. You monetize it through a sponsorship. You don't monetize it through everyone contributing like $5, regardless. But also, there's like a disconnect in this discussion where some of us are talking about relationships, like actually dating a fan, and me and I think CTV also are more thinking of like one night stands. Maybe like you're an IRL streamer, you're traveling around and you arrive like in Japan and you meet with a fan and maybe you have like a sexual, it escalates into a sexual encounter and then you like move on with your life. And for sure, like the expectations are totally different in those two different situations.
Okay, so now we're going to go to Maddie, then CTV.
Yeah. So I wanted to sort of, I can respond to that, the fact that maybe you think that we're talking a bit more about establishing a relationship versus simple hookups. I think the power dynamic exists regardless of whether it's in a relationship. In that case, it actually, I would say, is a lot worse because they often use the power to keep the relationship going, to manipulate the person, to kind of hold their power over. And a lot of this happens regardless if the streamer is aware of it happening. It's the same thing when there's a significant disparity in terms of how much money each of the party makes and whether or not someone becomes financially dependent on them. It's a bit different. And I would say, I wanted to answer Kat's question from before about which is worse,
streaming while lying down,
streamers or
streaming
musicians.
from bed.
And I would say, a typical parasocial relationship, at least the way it was defined in the 1950s onward, is that it's a one-sided relationship.
Who gives a shit about the 1950s definition? As it was coined in the 1950s.
They
I would say it's worse for musicians because, like, at least in the streamer world, there is a certain degree of reciprocity, so that it's not really just someone saying, "Oh, you adore me. I'm going to use that to like kind of have
really watching and
predatory behaviors to like then get laid."
Just have to wait for something
at least
stupid.
with a streamer, there is some degree of relationship building or back and forth. That's not to say there's a lot, but in my view, I would say with other celebrities, it would almost be worse because the other person really doesn't even have an avenue to engage with the singer or actor or whatever should they be kicked to the curb, which they often are. And I know a lot of people that's happened to, and it sucks. It feels shitty.
Before CTV says, what if you have a kicking to the curb fetish?
It's mostly guys, but it does go the other way around. But like in their mind, they may not think, oh, well, they knew it was a one night stand. They knew it was nothing. But like, it's just so many people, especially fans who worship these people. It hurts and it is really psychologically destructive.
Okay, perfect. Now the next person is CTV.
Yeah,
I guess I'll just watch for now. Some stupid CTV,
right? I think that
some stupid CTV
specifically are unique
nonsense.
To musicians, right? In the way of communication, right? If you don't have a certain amount of communication skills, it's probably going to be hard for you to get to be a streamer, right? So
true. That's why I'm struggling.
You may not speak the same dialect as everybody else, but you know what? As long as you can speak in a way that everybody can kind of get.
He's gonna say speak the language of love.
Be able to make it as a streamer, right? I think that's pretty fair to say. So when it comes to sleeping with fans, though, right? That also then, because there's a relationship over time, right? It's not just a simple, you've been listening to my music for 6 months, a year, whatever, and then so this is the content you've been taking. You've got an infatuation, right? We haven't really gotten into like what the degree of fan, if you will, right? Because you can have people that are just fans that end up becoming a part of your regular community. So then, like, where does that line actually get drawn for the streamer, right? So whenever you approach the situation, if you're going to, right, you'd have to do so with like some basic understandings from the start, depending on what it is that your own goals are. And if that person genuinely does actually care about you, they'll respect whatever decision you make because they're trying to help you with your goals, right? So it's not as simple as, it's a bad idea because it always does come down to the individual. But Heem, you made a good point earlier, right? I do feel like that, at least on my end, right, that streamers, we do it deeper, right?
I always make good points, bro.
There needs to be like a balance. Like some people are become too crazed with streamers or whoever, and then the situation isn't healthy, right? But then some might be just casual viewers, which sort of changes the situation. It also depends on like how big you are, because the bigger you are, the more the probability increases of encountering people who are just really big fans, and that creates problems. And if you're just small enough, then it doesn't really affect things, right? Uh, so in that sense, it's just know the context, be careful, don't try to abuse your position, and respect streamers as well. They're people as well too. Simple. It can be hard. It's not the best thing. But like, wasn't PewDiePie's wife a fan as well, or was he a fan of her? I don't know, one of them. But she was streaming as well, so that also creates another dynamic. Not streaming, sorry. She was making videos as well. Yeah, it depends.
So Dylan thinks yes. Josie thinks.
The exact question was, I think probably regret. I would think regret.
Maddie, you
Same.
think regret? Okay.
Yep.
Name.
I have no fucking way of knowing. If
Okay.
I have to eat.
I don't know.
Like, would the
Paradigm.
median be a 0 or a 1? You know, that's what I'm asking.
Well, you'd have like compared to the base rate of regret from one night stands where there's not like a power dynamic. You know what I mean? Like
Well, I would, I would add this. This is a caveat to like my advocacy against one night stands in general. Like, I think that this is just like a asterisk addition to it. So that's my take, anyways. But anyways, listen, I fucking want to pass it to Josie. I feel like Josie has been wanting to say.
Oh, I have a really quick question too, to kind of like maybe add some nuance. to
Whatever
this
you
con-
guys want to let me
Some
answer the
old
question.
Oh,
fries.
go ahead, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead. CT.
Yeah. CTV, what's up?
Yeah, I definitely think that
Some old chicken sandwich.
now what was the question again?
Wait, what the hell?
As soon as you started adjusting your mic, I was like, he's stalling. He's stalling.
Just remind me.
Do you think most people
Classic
that actually
CTV.
get to sleep with the celebrities, do you think that they
Regretted it, right? Right?
Yeah.
No, I don't think they did. And you got to think about it like this, right? You know, in order to get to the top of your game,
Let's see.
you've got to be the alpha of the fucking game, right? You gotta fucking own your shit, you know. And you know what? How do I know this? Because when you got your game right, everything else comes together, right? Because the confidence that you have is because you know your motherfucking game is right. You see what I'm saying? So,
Your game is right.
Brad character.
fans be coming on the scene, they be like, we want to get up with that because they at the top of
You're
the
such a
game. Do I
character.
think they regretted it? Hell no. They probably got every single moment and ounce of climax out of that situation, right? And walked away from it going, I can see why they're at the top of their game.
Okay, noted. So yeah, every time someone's done, they're like, I understand why CTV is the people's champion of Twitch. This makes sense now. Yeah, I get it.
Right.
Okay, so then we're gonna go to Josie, then Dylan.
I don't know if the other people didn't want to answer that question. We didn't get left this out or paradigm. I don't know.
I heard that paradigm scream regret.
Okay. Okay, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, but Owl, what's yours?
I would just have to see data on that. I don't think I can't like give a gut instinct because I don't really know people's propensity
But
to
that's
regretting
what
one-night
you're
stands with
arguing,
celebrities. So
Okay,
So I have
nuance, bro. It is yes.
Yes. So I have. It's going to be two parts. So I have the one question, and then I have another one. But I have a quick question to everybody. How many people that have dated people or like went on, or on Tinder or whatever, Bumble, however you met people while you were streaming, went and gave your Twitch handle to that person that you're dating? I'm just curious. You did, with the expectation that they'll watch you?
Honestly, I was so fucking tired of the Tinder profile with the Instagram thing, like trying to farm follows. At some point I added to my Tinder profile, like, you're farming follows, come follow me on Twitch. I never got any
Right.
viewers from it. It was just a meme.
I got a story about this.
Oh no, I've gotten,
actually.
I've had people, I've given people like my Twitch and had them, watch me play drums and stuff like that, and I've gotten laid off of that stuff.
Jesus
we had met
Christ.
before.
Who's begging?
Say a word.
Ah, see, that's okay.
They're like,
That's
he
different
has
too.
great handwork.
But you didn't do it right away. You didn't do it right away
bodes
though.
well.
There's nothing like
Yeah.
having fast fingers. You hear me?
Okay, so I'll let Dylan and
All
Heem
right.
answer, and then I want to
I'm
get
a
to the
drummer
nuance.
too. You gotta have the fucking finger work.
Moving
calling
on.
Yo.
my mother.
Moving on.
Okay, Dylan.
What is that?
There's
Worm.rad?
two stories here.
Are Maddie and
What does that even
CTV
mean?
flirting, or am I tripping?
Hey,
This is
Funiv
somewhat, like,
Wojcik.
correlative.
I don't think I can say the
I
name.
remember them asking me what I do for
Why does
work.
it say
I
0
answered,
viewers
I
if
do
someone's commenting on
I'm a
this?
streamer. I do streaming stuff. Oh, really? And then they looked me up, and then while in front of me, they're playing my YouTube videos. And this is the person
That would
who's
suck.
supposed to be there for like mental stuff. And the first video they click is a debate with Redneck. And if any of you guys know Redneck,
Oh, God.
it was him arguing how saying I hate black people isn't racist. And so I'm sitting there just watching them watch this, and it was one of the worst experiences of my life. And I at that moment swore that unless I didn't have to, I would never tell anybody I'm a streamer. And the other time was I remember I was like doing some one night stand with somebody, and like I remember like when they were leaving, like I was like, oh, I gotta get this video released. Like video, I was like, oh yeah, I do some internet stuff, and then they looked it up, and in front of me they're watching it, and it's just an aggravating experience every time because you already got to be a certain type of person to be like want to watch streamers or like commentary channels, and then it's even more niche when it's all political because then not only is it weird if they don't agree with you politically, it's
Yeah.
also weird if they think this internet stuff there's a million different like aspects to it that make me
Yeah.
never want to tell anyone, not even mentioning like the parasocial stuff. But if you do meet them first and then they find out, then I think it's okay.
Yeah. What is Heem saying? Why can't I hear him anymore? Here's some people.
Like that's a way sicker thing to do, is like just let's get to know each other first. Let me see if I like you, if you like me, then
Okay.
I'll tell you what my channel is like down the line. There's no reason to rush it.
Yeah.
I guess maybe that's just a different way to look at it, because at least some of the stuff that I've been thinking is like, I'm thinking 2022, I need to get some damn business cards, right? And then as I fucking meet people in the world, when I'm stopping having conversations, there, you want to talk to me again? Fucking, here's my business card. You can come by and find me on my Twitch channel. I mean, how the hell else am I going to grow a fucking conservative network on this platform anyway, right? I'm going to have to hand out fucking business cards. So
I'm talking about dating. I'm talking about dating.
Dating? Are
I'm
you
talking
handing business cards to like potential girlfriends or something? Like, oh, here's my card. Call me.
Let's
No, just
normalize
what I do for-
that. I would love. It would just make things easier.
I'm pretty sure they'd be like, are you a
Look,
drug dealer or are
Just
you like
do the
selling crypto?
Japanese.
Like, what the fuck is happening?
The Japanese.
Yeah, last night, Josie, we had the Swedish bikini team over here, me and the wife. We were having a big old time. So,
That's fun. That's fun.
Yeah.
All right, I want to get to the second part of
Yeah,
my
I thought
little
there
thing.
was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I also want to bring it back to the gender question as well, because like Maddie and I being, and KataraNa being femme presenting people, do you think that there is a little bit of a different dynamic being a woman content creator versus a male content creator? And no shade at you, CTV, but a lot of your comments focused a lot around the gratification of like, I'm going to get this in. It's like that masculine like numbers game versus like, for me, it's like, I want it to be good and like have some form. And I think like, when you have one night stands as a woman, it's like, ooh, should I have done that? And the other person's like, yeah, I did it. Right. And I feel like there's like a trophy mentality versus like actually trying to get with that person for good reason. I don't know if that's really apparent here, but I just kind of wanted to name it. I don't know if any of the other women have a thought on that, and then we can go back to the boys.
Oh, I 100% agree. And I think a lot of it too is like, I mean, there's people kind of meme about how it's men aren't as good at getting women off as women are getting men off because I don't know, it's a little bit more, maybe a little more complicated, a little trickier. Guys, pretty straightforward. But I think because of that, like guys, that maybe could lead to some of the differences in how we view sexual encounters. In fact, at least, you know, in long-term relationships I've had, like and I'll get TMI here, like I have just like more gratifying sex with people who know me better because like they know what gets me off. In a one night stand, it is so rare to like be with someone who knows that, then also connects with you on the emotional level that I like, at least I desire in any sort of thing. So I don't know, it for a lot of women, that's why we have a little bit more trepidation when it comes to things like one night stands. It's not as exciting for us to be like, yes, check mark, like another notch on the belt. Like it just, we don't, and I'm generalizing. There are probably people that feel differently, but more generally, like we just don't view it like that as much because those like one night stands aren't gratifying. Also, I think everything distills down to toxic masculinity, but that's a conversation for a different time. But I also think the notion of like dominating and being like, oh no, I like had that person, I like conquered that, whatever, is a particularly pervasive force that drives that kind of behavior.
So can I ask you a question? While I agree with you about not, I'm not a fan of one night stands either. Do you think that it's kind of, on one hand, now listen, I'm not a woman creator. I don't know how difficult it is. I'm sure it is very difficult because I see a lot of cringe in chats. But I'm wondering, like, do you think that on one hand, because I know there's a big push for women to kind of own that as well, you know, like, fuck yeah, why can't women enjoy one night stands and stuff? So I wonder if in some way it's kind of, I'm sure there's some female creators who fuck around with fans and are feeling, you know, empowered by it, that they have, you know, all these choices or whatever. But like, I don't know, I don't really know which is the best to push for like everybody to not do one night stands, or for you know, or for women to also do them as well and enjoy them, and you know, we normalize it.
Well,
Yeah,
who's the
no.
person that was building those replicas from the musician? There's an example of somebody though that fucking, you know, actually like,
Hey, A4
here's
Andre,
the thing
thanks for
that
the
I
follow,
did,
buddy.
like, you
Welcome.
know,
You thought
like,
you were following
the
already? No
idea
worries,
there
bro.
is
Welcome. I hope
that
you've been well.
because
Happy New
you know
Year.
there are those personalities out there, and like Heem said, why not own it, right? So it's all of those things are going to come down to the type of content or the type of person that the person wants to be. If you want to do a thing, you're going to have to own your actions regardless. You can't, you know, try to dip your foot in the pool, right? And then when it becomes uncomfortable, try to jump back out. It's like, nah, your foot's already wet, motherfucker. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I just wanted to say, because I know some people have been waiting. Dylan, have you been waiting for a while?
No, I'm fine. You know, I just want to comment though. Boys rule, girls drool. I just wanted to make sure that.
Okay, yeah, that was actually very insightful. I'm so happy you added
True.
that. Okay,
So
great.
wise.
True.
You're so wise.
I'm rethinking my position. Thank you.
Then I'm gonna go to Paradigm, and then I will go to Name.
Okay, Alava said, I'm going to just go with my original thought because my brain will literally fly off the roof. Y'all already know me. I could talk for hours. What I was thinking about was the idea of streamers sleeping with fans gets tricky because that a fan has the ability to track you because you are on stream. It is much different than like a musician because the music, and I know this was said already, but like in a real world context,
musicians come and go.
to track a musician like
across the
I can get
country.
you banned from a venue if you're a vengeful fan who wants to like say, oh, this, that, and that, and whatever happened. But like for a streamer, you can swap me if I invite you to my house. Like
you're saying you're saying that you're saying the fans can't create alt accounts to show up to the venue and try to fuck with you?
Well, this is something you just this is a potential risk that you as a creator take on regardless of whether you're sleeping with fans. This is
Right,
something,
no.
something you have to consider with like everything and every interaction
My
that you
man
do.
said gun on stream. I agree with you, but I also want to say I agree with CTV that it comes down to when we like boil it all down that we are in a form artists. And we have to carry that ability to communicate regardless of whatever platform we have, regardless of whatever. You are a personality larger than I would say the average person. So if you can't communicate in a way that like sets up the one night stand or the possible relationship or the date in a way that makes both people feel mature and like everything's being handled correctly, then it's all going to go to shit anyway. But I will say that I know more about Heem and Dylan and Josie and CTV than I know about SZA. But if SZA dropped them damn drawers, if SZA came to my house and was like, "Yo, what's up?" I'm doing it. Like I don't see. Like, I just and that brings me to that
But
power
that's
dynamic.
that's
It's like
content creator versus content creator paradigm shift. Don't sell
fair
yourself
enough.
short, bro.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's
But
true.
see,
That's a
that's the
different
thing,
world.
Thank you. I appreciate that. But like, okay, but like power dynamics, it's like I'm willing to say that out loud. Like, damn, I would do it. But like I know less about SZA, I only know her music. I don't know anything core about her. I feel like as streamers, we generally get personal by default. You know, it's like I'm playing a video game and like people asking me, how am I good at this game? I'm talking about politics. What do you know about politics? What are your positions?
Yeah, true.
It leads them to know more about you. So for me personally, it's like taking that and then building a possible one night stand, a date, a relationship off that is already too close for comfort because they've built opinions on you and they don't know that like when I go to sleep, I like to throw punches in my sleep. Like, oh, I gave you a black eye. My bad. Like it's like there's just things you don't know, but you know enough that you feel comfortable. Whereas opposed to like as we were talking about with musicians, you know only what they put out, and then there's a record label behind it, and then there's a media team behind it, and you don't really like have an impression of them personally. You interpret
That
them.
is true.
When it comes to streaming, I feel like we are our interpretations. You know me, like you know. Even if I'm playing a character, like you know me. So one way or another, it's just too close for comfort when it comes to me personally. But I do agree with CTV and the people who. Wow, I guess I've had my opinion changed. I do agree with them in the form of communication needing to be a approachable topic that people can work through to get to a point where, okay, somebody likes me because of my stream. I can have a conversation. Let's go for a cup of coffee type of thing.
You know, it's good that you're getting on board with this paradigm shift because I mean, see, because the reality here is that Dylan pointed out earlier, right? It's different for content creators and fans versus content creators and content creators, right? So now that we know that you're on board, we're going to have to get you on the memo. That way, you know what's going on in the rest of the room. You know
Don't talk about content creators and content creators yet, because that's what the next topic
the next topic is.
I think it's just important to establish that power dynamics existing in a relationship isn't necessarily grounds for that relationship being unethical. It's all in how those power dynamics are preyed upon or how they affect the
camera angle is
relationship.
wacky.
So I
Men
think
are dumb though, so
for
like I'm just
100%.
like
this person, I don't know.
I think that
Oh,
if we're
they're on the floor.
Oh, we're
Business,
doing
man,
the
business.
several
Hold
people
on, let me
talking at the
finish.
same
Men,
time.
No, they're a bed.
men
What
are
is that?
extremely
I
dumb.
don't know.
Okay.
I agree.
I
That is
agree.
why
It
we
has
should
nothing to
push
do with
for-
men being dumb. It has nothing to do with men being dumb. It's just
Okay.
the nature of content creation, right? If you're saying left this owl that people, you know, if they create a relationship with a fan and then end up getting married and having kids, I don't think people are going to say that that's like the worst thing in the world. But 99.9% of the time, these relationships end up being one night things and they move on, or they're used for a short period of time and then they're cast aside. This is more often than not what happens. So obviously, I'm going to agree with you when you say that just the power dynamic alone isn't the thing that makes it the problem. It's the way that it's used. But in most cases, when it comes to content creators and fans, it's abused. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna go to name, then we're gonna go to Dylan, and then we're gonna do the not closing statements, but yeah, the format I had said before. If you had come in late, you'll see what I'm doing when I do it. Okay. So name.
Yeah. Okay. I just wanted to add, like going back
Reducing it to gender is fairly
Josie, when you're
reductive.
talking about the whole like responding to CTV's like whole kind of like toxic masculinity. You're a dude, you got to fuck everything that moves.
Sexual
type
conquest.
thing. Sexual conquest, yeah. That's I just wanted to respond to that because that's a fucking pet peeve of mine. Like as a male presenting person, I had internalized that as that if anyone shows any kind of attraction to me, I'm supposed to have sex with them. And it took I had like a breakthrough sometime, like as a young adult. Like, wait, if I'm not attracted to them, why should I have sex with them? I should know what I want first before engaging with someone. So I actually think it's so important that you brought that up. But I'll the subject of power dynamics, like I keep going back. I want to like try to look up some like I was saying earlier, some data
I'm not a
on the
good
questions, and there's a
streamer. I'm
bunch
not
of
even
social
talking.
psychology literature on it. Obviously, it doesn't take into
I'm just
account the
chilling.
parasocial dynamics. That's a very
Basically, I'm
new thing.
Dylan.
Even the
Dylan
most
is
recent
chilling as
research
well.
papers I could find, there wasn't anything like specifically that could concern
I don't know if
streamers.
anyone's.
But in general, power dynamics
Yeah.
are
And I don't think
like
anyone's watching me. The
material power dynamics, having
restream
fame, having
shows
power,
if
having
someone's
money,
watching me or not.
are can absolutely lead to perfectly healthy relationships. A lot of relationships, in fact, everyone knows about the gender pay gap. In most relationships, there is a material power dynamic at play, but that doesn't mean that all those relationships are necessarily imbalanced or unhealthy.
Okay, and then we're gonna go to Dylan.
So earlier, like, there's a lot of stuff that's like me and talked about, like, and I like something earlier, like, if they end up getting married or something, like, who cares? Who gives a fuck? So the thing is, a lot of things people also need to realize is that due to like streaming online, when we see stuff in a very like short box of someone's life
Yep.
that they choose to present to us, right? And so if you're a fan or you're somebody who watches streams, you think you know that person. Do you really know that person? You see
No.
me out of 6 hours of every day. You don't see the rest of the day. You don't see me really that much on weekends. You don't see me while I'm on vacation. You don't see me when you don't lay across the other side of the bed with me and talk to me about it. You don't see the dynamics
You don't
of a
interact
personal
with.
relationship with me
Yeah.
outside of streaming, and you don't know what I'm
Streaming is
like when I'm away
different.
from the
You're
keyboard. Away
you're
from the
presenting yourself
keyboard,
differently.
like they should like send me to the Hague. Honestly, I'm the worst. Unironically, you're gonna see me in front of a judge in 30 years for war crimes. Okay, I'm not a great person. You watch it; it's gonna happen one day.
In before the lefties and the tankies clip this and put it on Twitter. Hey everyone,
Fucking
Twitch.tv/Heem if this is being clipped.
Amen. Amen. If I'm at Twitch, I'm at twitch.tv/Hasanabi, okay? Okay, so, but to be serious for a second,
Why am I
you
getting
don't see those dynamics.
Russian names with
about
weird?
being if you go on a date and going and
What's
meeting them
happening with
IRL, is
YouTube?
you get to see more dynamics in front
Just
of them,
getting
and you
these
don't
weird
see
comments.
this perfectly packaged version of them that's supposed to be marketable to large audiences, where they have all these special effects and stuff. You don't see them across the dinner table. You get to have that
Does Twitch just say one person watching when there's no one because
about what you want. They answer
that one person is like a bot or me or something? I don't know.
Gets me. That's where I see the like
Is someone watching on Twitch?
stuff can
If they are, can they comment?
You're with that person, you try to do something with that person,
But I don't think they are.
As rewarding as you thought it would be, because you expected to meet the streamer and you ended up meeting the person.
Yeah, you are different.
Perfect. And just
I can be more bold in streaming, for example.
So far, feel like
even
they've
though I just
spoken
started.
enough. I know some people may have spoken more than others, but that might just be due to your choice. If everyone feels like they've spoken enough, then we can do the closer stuff.
I just wanted to say, I guess I just want to bring up this last point, which I think is important, but we can move on. But I just kind of wanted to make sure, like, the sexual conquest thing, I think is a pretty important piece of this conversation, because like even a fan or maybe even a creator, like there's a lot of like I guess rape culture. I hate to say it, but that's what it is. Where it's like, oh yeah, I slept with all these people, or these women creators, like, oh yeah, I dated her, like all that type of stuff. And it's like, I don't know. I think that plays a lot of the factor in myself and why I choose to not really sleep with fans as well, is because I don't want to be a victim of someone who was like wants to go to their friends later and be like, oh, let me tell you what happened. I don't know. So I just wanted to kind of bring that in, but if we don't need to talk about that anymore, I just wanted to make that part of it. So cool.
I would like to respond to that.
Okay, and then we'll close it off.
Yeah, just in an agreement. That is
an agreement. Why
that has
fuck is he
always frightened me.
responding in
And
agreement?
I think that when we talk about this at very ground level, I think we all have that inanimate fear of doing it unintentionally, perpetuating that power dynamic of man over woman, man conquest. Like we are, or at least me, I'm afraid of doing that unintentionally. And there is this culture where it's like, oh, I slept with Valkyrie and Pokimane and this and that, and they're like, but like for a woman, for her to come out and say that, you'll definitely get more backlash than like congratulations. And yes, that is a culture that women are trying to own and change at the moment, but I'm not going to pretend like everyone's going to wake up tomorrow and be like, you go girl. Like, it's going to be a lot of hate before it gets to a point where it's like, I'm doing the same thing that you're doing. So when we live in that and then we put everything that we talked about today into a bubble, it's like, are we even talking about women being able to own this same conversation in their own space? And me personally, I do not believe that we have reached a point where women own that ability to have that conversation. So until we do that, I will just say personally, I don't think it's good for streamers to engage in that, because that is a whole other dynamic that has real world effects.
And they kind of just to lead it into closing statements.
We'll also kind of, I guess, make this yours. But the question, if you're going to lead it into closing, I just want you to answer, has anybody changed your mind? And if not, can you explain like why the other side was not able to change your mind?
Okay, so yeah, like Maddie said earlier, and I had it, I listened, I gotta get it again. Okay.
Any day now, CTV.
Yeah, shit, man.
What the hell happened to
Said
CTV?
Take your time, no worries.
Oh, you forgot.
I know it takes a while to start that fire. I can hear the
Mm.
logs crackling right now.
Mm. Well, she said it. Oh, that's what it was. That's what it was. Here it is. All right, now, so see, Maddie said it earlier, right? See, and this is the important thing to recognize when it comes to the dynamics of these relationships, right? Is that not all penises are built the same. Okay, they all
What
don't
the
know what they're
hell?
doing, right? So when it comes to
What the hell is he
Women's
talking
got a
about?
good fucking dick
the
game, I
potential
think.
fan lovers, there's a whole lot of other considerations, right? Because not every man knows what the fuck he's doing, right?
Bro, why? How do you know what you're doing, bro?
Oh.
Mighty
Believe
confident
me,
over there.
mighty confident for reasons, right? You know why? Because women tell me, you know what the fuck you're doing.
Is this part of your closing
Okay,
statement
that's
as to why
think
the other
so.
side was able to convince you or not?
This is a
because women
CTV
told you?
advertisement for fans, I guess, more than
Yeah,
anything.
I guess
Mm.
the
The man
ads
is a
are out.
promotional machine. Don't question his methods.
Handing out business cards, remember? So
That's right. Also, I had no idea that's what I said, but I guess I did.
yeah,
'cause
I mean, there's
You
different
said it with
concerns,
your
right?
eyes,
For the
Maddie.
man,
You said it
right?
with your
Like,
eyes.
my mouth
for
said something. My eyes said, no, not all penises are created equal.
it's true. But it's true though. That's why the woman can have so many different. If every penis was the same, it would have just been one statue. But there's multiple statues, right?
There's multiple
So,
statues. What the hell
so
is he
that's the
talking
difference
about?
for the considerations for men and women when it comes to sleeping with fans or not, right? Not everything's the same. And at the end of it, right? This is why if you're even considering any part of this, I wouldn't recommend one night stands at all. I would definitely say that it needs to be like 3, 6 months, year. You know what I mean? Like, as you would any other friendship that maybe you decided you wanted, but like I wouldn't be like, oh, you've been watching me in the community for 3 months. Maybe I know your fucking screen name, right? It's like, no, that's like when we started getting to know, or you started getting to know me, and maybe I got to know you like this little bit.
Someone
Right, but now
calculate
that
how
we've
many
met,
seconds
now
he
there's a whole
spent on his
nother
dick.
clock that starts over, right? And then you see what I'm saying? So it's all about levels and mitigation and being able to handle it as a
He
mature
plays a
adult,
really good character.
consenting. That way, feelings can't get hurt because I told you ahead of time, right? I'm only going to break your heart. Okay? Okay.
I'm gonna press your
Okay,
heart.
so has
Oh
anyone
my
changed your mind?
goodness.
I think we've all kind of came together, right? In the idea that
He's so funny though.
there's two
He's
sides to
honestly
this
funny
coin,
as
and it
fuck.
depends on how you approach it. So I would say a changing of a mind, but I would say, you know,
Maybe I
recognition of
should try
all of
Omega.
the really great points that people need to be considering, before they would engage in such activity.
Mindful
Okay,
methods.
I'm just gonna throw it at random places, and if you're not ready, then I'll come back. Okay, so name. Has anyone changed your mind? And if not, why have they not been able to change your mind?
So fundamentally, no, but yes and no, right? My stance never was that you should like have sex with everyone anything that moves. All of you
Anything
had
that
talked a lot
moves.
about parasocial relationships. That's something I actually hadn't really considered that much, and I think that's actually really really important. Like how the stream is a window into your personal life, how expectations can be completely wild from a fan, and so on and so forth. Definitely something to definitely a domain where you have to tread on eggshells. That's kind of where my mind's moved from the start of this conversation. That I still think it's okay, but you got to be fucking really careful with how it's going. Probably more like what some of you are saying, like getting to know each other, making sure that everyone's in a safe situation. I find it really interesting that in the discussion we simultaneously discussed how there can be an abuse of power from the viewer onto the streamer of like destroying their reputation or doxing them or swatting them, but as well as the obvious abuse of power from the streamer onto the viewer using their fame and the fascination that there is for them. It's interesting that the abuses can go both way as well, and it's interesting that both aspects were brought up, and that everyone needs to do their best to be safe. And finally, Dylan, you changed my mind. I'm never going on a date without the gamer LED lights in the background with me and all that stuff. I need to present like with all the filters. That's a really good idea.
Dylan, that means I guess you're next. Has anyone been able to change your mind? And if not, why have they not?
No, because fundamentally, not really many people in here disagree with me, and I'm not, even if someone was to make the argument to me that it was ethical to sleep with fans specifically, which I do think the discussion between sleeping with fans and sleeping with other creators is fundamentally different. Um, the risks are just too many, right? It's just too fucking risky for not even just for the fan, but for the fucking creator, because ultimately that fan will always know more about you probably than you know about them. And so what you're doing is throwing yourself at somebody, not like a normal night stand, where they know a lot more information about you than you do about them. And it can not only create like some obsessive stalker moments, but it can also create some weird kind of like moments where they can use this personal information against you that they've gained that not all the other fans have. And I also don't even trust them to necessarily not be malicious, but not be responsible. What if they hear this information and they're like, they don't want to be a bad person, but they let some shit slip while they're talking to other fans, right? Because they have this special thing that not all the other fans have, and now they're going to be telling everybody else. So yeah, no, it's just, even if you could argue to me that it was ethical, it's just too risky.
It is too
Yeah.
risky.
I don't need a
Dylan
dark
is right.
triad moment.
What's that
Okay,
about?
the next person I'm going to throw it to is Maddie.
I
I'm
don't know
streaming,
that
but not
my
really
mind's
streaming.
been
This
changed.
is
I
like
think I hadn't really considered the angle of musicians and like that as much in connection to sleeping with streamers. I think for me, I look to a lot of the data and I look to a lot of the studies that psychologists have done on these types of relationships and sexual encounters. Because this is something, especially in the past 10, 15 years,
I wish I was part of the panel,
psychologists
then I
have
could
been
talk.
examining pretty closely. And overall, the general consensus seems to be that while, there are ethical ways to have these kinds of relationships, it's really, really hard. And more often than not, you're setting someone up to be manipulated or exploited or just to encounter psychological harm. And I think as streamers, maybe we need to take responsibility knowing that there is a power dynamic at play, knowing that whether we like it or not, it's not something we can brush aside and say, oh, well, no, I'm an adult. I should be do what I want as long as they're a consenting adult who cares, to acknowledge that the situation's a little more nuanced. And maybe it's on us to
Techies and
ensure that
trumpets.
if we
Oh my
decide to sleep with fans and viewers, whatever, that we're communicating, that we're not holding our fame over their head, and just, be good people to make sure you're not actually like inadvertently manipulating them, because that's something that happens all the time. So can it be done ethically? Sure, but it just in general isn't a good idea.
Okay, I'm going to throw it to Paradigm. You are
All
muted.
right, I know. Don't worry, I know.
Well, he already did his closing statement.
I
This
would
is some
say
bullshit.
that
What the fuck
I
everybody
think
got to do
everyone
closing
here
statements but
got
me?
like a nuanced view into whether they agree or
Poor
disagree. So
Heem.
I am also going to jump on the train of my mind hasn't been changed, but that's just because personally I've been on both sides of this situation, like just personally. And I know we're not supposed to stick to anecdotes, but like I just know how people feel on a ground level, so I just wouldn't want to create that environment. Like that's not what
He's
I'm
saying the
here
same
for.
thing he said
But
last
if
time.
people
Omar,
argue,
yeah, for sure. Sorry, I
it's
talked
okay.
to
No,
I unmuted. I apologize.
it's all good. It's all good. You're good. You're good. I will say though that I think that if I'm going to be good faith, I will give it to the idea that I think there just needs to be more of a conversation on responsibility, because the barrier for entry to do Twitch streaming is low. The barrier to get big enough that somebody would like you enough
Yeah.
is obviously very large. But like, if you got 3 viewers and one of them finds you really hot, like that's 1/3 your audience. Like
Yeah.
it can happen. And in that point, you have to just be more responsible. I just don't. And this goes back to I'm sorry that the idea, I know you said it's not about it, but like people who get in these positions don't understand how to hold that power. So like they're dumb. Like they're just gonna do it because they feel, oh, that's so cool. You like me so much, without that like nuance of being able to communicate, as CTV said. So I would say I'm still on my side, but like I can view how to make it a better vision for the other side of this argument.
Grilling.
Okay, CTV.
Yeah, I
Nice.
think
Even CTV got to
You know
talk
what?
before me.
because of all the points that were made, I'm going to have to say
You better pass it to me, motherfucker.
that my mind was not changed. It wasn't changed, y'all. It wasn't changed, right? You
It
bring up
wasn't
all the things
changed.
that I'd bring up to it, but what I don't do is I don't touch to fear, right? Damn it. You can't just say I'm scared, right?
He's
And
such a
too
meme.
afraid to step out into the world to be able to get that. Because remember how we started this thing off, right?
Such a
Piece
meme.
of ass
This is
you
a
didn't
scandal.
get is a piece of ass you didn't get.
This is a scandal.
There it is. So, you know what? If you want to be scared, you ain't going to get as much ass, right? But make sure you do it responsibly, right? That's the key. So I can agree with what everybody said. Make sure that you're fucking doing everything that everybody else has said, right? But don't fucking be scared to approach life. Be responsible.
Don't be afraid of
Piece
life.
of ass you didn't get is a piece of ass you didn't get. So funny that your dad told you that, because I feel like my dad told me that too.
Mm.
Just kidding.
I can see, like it's just.
It's
be
got to be my
responsible
fucking
just
turn
sounds like
now.
the end of like a.
It's got to
like
be
a
my turn.
Heineken commercial. Like I don't know.
Please drink responsibly.
Please drink responsibly.
Let's go.
Please tap responsibly. Yeah.
Next, I'm gonna throw it to Josie.
Didn't Josie go?
First off, fear is a good thing because if
Just
I was saw a
interrupt?
bear
I know I
and
should.
it was charging me, I will use that fear to save my life and give me more longevity. So when it comes to this type of stuff, it is a survival thing to be a little afraid, and that's actually a good thing. I don't run from that. I embrace it and see why it's happening. But anyways, I asked my chat. We got a decent amount of people watching, and I asked them. I was like, "What would you want to do?"
You guys
Like, if
can
you're a
answer this
fan, not
too.
me
You guys
personally,
can
because
answer
that'd be
this too.
weird.
Go
But
ahead.
like I said, if you watch a streamer that is, a fan, and it's interesting because some people were like, no way, the parasocial relationship's too much, or there was a lot of no's, but there were some people were like, sure, maybe, right? And a lot of the was like a caveat of like, are they a tiny streamer? Does it stream that much? Is it somebody I met beforehand? And it even the fans themselves feel a little bit of like, is this a good idea too? So with me, I think there's an ethical way to do a lot of things, and I think there probably is one, but I'm going to side with my own personal comfort and a lot of people here as well. Is this just a bad idea? I just don't think it's good. And I think that, let's just
True,
avoid
Alpha Rex.
situation. There's plenty of fish in the sea. There's plenty of other ways you can impress people. And you can actually not try to leverage your fame on somebody who just likes your personality in that particular way. Because I think Dylan's right. Like, I am a different person off a stream. Like, we all put on the entertainment face when we come onto these things, right? We're all a very gregarious, like, Paradigm says you could talk for hours. I could talk for hours too, but usually I'm not talking about the things I'm talking about here when I'm talking to people on a date, right? So for me, it would be kind of not me. Like, it's like they're knowing somebody who is like an
What is
entertainer
Yoshi
or
talking
hobby,
about?
something that
Just
I
be
do on the
friends with
side
people.
versus the person inside. And then I
I
would
should
have to
eat
try to be
something.
like, hey, forget this person over here.
Just
Like, I'm over here. I want to meet with you and engage with you over here. And I just think it's a big hurdle and a barrier that I don't think that is worth it. And yeah, I there probably is an ethical way to do it. Like, I'm sure that people have met on that type of stuff and got married and had kids, and it's a wonderful relationship. But I just don't see it as something that's worth giving it a shot, especially in this modern day and era with the
It's gonna
internet.
be up
Just seems
there
like
on
a
the
bad idea.
internet. This lazy, boring stream.
Gotta be
Not
my
much
turn.
happening.
Throw it over to Heem.
All right. I was getting triggered. I thought you were gonna forget me. Okay. I think definitely sleeping with fans is not a good idea. From both sides, they can be it can lead to a lot of negative outcomes. One thing I forgot to mention was like even from the streamers or from the content creators point of view. I think I was listening to a 50 Cent interview once where he said like that he can never like trust anybody that anybody likes him for him. All of his fans, he thinks that they like him for his fame and like and I don't even think we really got to discuss that like it's really hard to tell if you're just sleeping with a fan. It's really hard to tell if they're actually into you or if they're into you for fame or they have ulterior motives. I guess depending on how big you are. And then the other thing I wanted to say was, yeah, I mean, it's just like there's so many. I don't think there's an issue with saying, hey, I'm a Twitch streamer or whatever, because like that's your job. But I think that you don't fucking play the game on easy mode, okay? Don't be trying to play the game on easy mode. Make it a little bit harder for yourself. Say, yeah, I'm a Twitch streamer, but I'm not gonna tell you who I am. Let's go out, hang out, see if I like you, see if you like me, and then we can chat about it after. And then one last thing, I mean, like, CTV, you said the thing about like the every piece of ass you don't get is a lost piece of ass or whatever. I don't like that kind of fucking culture. Like, I don't think we should be like perpetuating that into the next generation of kids and like encouraging them like to get more pieces of ass. Like, I think we should probably treat pieces of ass better than we do. And that's like a thing that I like to, I don't know, advocate for and push for.
Well, to be specific, if I can, just quickly.
Nope, your time is out, sir. Sorry, you're gonna have to wait for the next time.
I feel like an
Right.
explanation is warranted, though.
Okay, I mean, I'll see.
Yeah, go ahead. I want to hear what he has to say.
I'll see. Yeah, let's go.
Explain rape culture.
Yeah, so the night that my dad told me this was after I had already kind of made the decision to end up having sex on my own. So then everything before that, he was like, yeah, just, don't, just hold off. Believe me, it's worth it because, he's telling me the truth, right? But then after the fact, he understands that now it's, the Pandora's box has been opened, right? So now he's like, okay, son, here's this side of the coin. Every piece so.
I don't know if that clears anything up for me, but okay.
Well, I just need you to know that I treat all of my donkeys very nicely. Okay, great. Such a great joke. Bangers everywhere. Okay, Owl. I know your mic, your camera doesn't seem to be working, but is your mic working?
Yeah.
All right, cool. So, I guess last is you. Unless did I miss anybody? Everybody? Sick. Okay, so yeah, did anybody change your mind? And if not, why?
I wanted to
Great
say really
answer.
quickly, really quickly, because there was a point that I forgot to make that came from my chat, which is like, think about like superheroes. Like even in comic books, most superheroes have alter egos because they don't want to have people dating them as their superhero persona. It's
No,
kind
it's
of
because
part
they
of the
want to protect
cultural
people.
dynamic of dating
This is a
people. It's
really good
like, you
point.
know, Superman doesn't want to be Superman. He wants to be Clark Kent and date Lois Lane
Cardboard
because it
Kent.
would make sense for that. So I think we can also look at pulp media and culture in that same sense of
That's a
like,
weird point.
I
You
think
think so, Mike?
societally we know that would be kind of screwed up if it was like, oh yeah, Spider-Man, like that's my boyfriend. You know what I mean? That just seems like the comic doesn't like that, right? And I think that's something important.
Could I say one last thing too? Because I actually like a
Look
close
at this.
family friend.
Heem
is
talks,
a, like,
and now
minor
everyone else is
celebrity.
fucking talking
I'm
again. You
not
see
gonna,
what
like, say
happens?
their name. I
Every
talked about
fucking
them a
time.
decent
Good thing
amount,
I
but
brought
remember
this
that
up,
is something
otherwise
that
it was a
he has
snoozer.
always talked about, because I knew him before he became a celebrity, and then you see him kind of go through that, and his wife is also a celebrity now, and the reason they got together was because they were like, finally there was someone who could understand like the struggles and the power dynamics that come into being a celebrity, and like being able to date someone kind of on your level, because then there's not that question in the back of your mind, is this person only dating me because they're a fan or because of proximity to fame and power and other things. Like that is a very real thing that celebrities have to contend with. So yeah, I don't know.
That
It's
is
something
true.
to consider. That's also why a lot of times when you see like powerful people date each other, a lot of times it's because, you know, they go for someone kind of on their same tier in terms of influence, because that way they're not really questioning whether or not that person just wants to climb up the ladder or use them. Again, that's, I mean, they might be, but it's less likely than someone who maybe is just a fan.
Okay, and the owl, what's your answer on this one? I assume that
Hello?
microphone is okay. Now I can hear you.
All right, yeah, I don't give a fuck. I just don't care anymore. People can do whatever the fuck they want. If they end up manipulating people, they end up manipulating people, and that's fucked up. But whatever.
What? What kind
Okay,
of
so
what
no,
kind of weird
actually
ass fucking
no one changed your mind. You actually
What?
turned more to the absolute other side.
Yeah,
This is like when he said
yeah, no,
you can be racist to white people?
whatever. I don't fucking care.
What did I say?
Okay, okay, noted. So I guess Dylan, you really not everybody's on the same side as you. Get plowed. Okay. I guess I just want
What
to
was that? That was weird.
make a note that yeah, I
That was a
only
weird one.
will
That
end
was
up
like
posting stuff on
a
questions I
meme.
actually
I'm
don't
done.
know
I
the
don't want
answer
to talk about it
So
anymore.
this is
Type of
more of
answer.
like me hosting this, not because I have an answer and I'm like drama farming, as much as I'm like, I keep on having arguments with people about this. Let's
Nothing's
just have a
happening
panel and
much.
we'll have other people have arguments about it, and then I get to make up my mind. And
Is he
I
mad?
essentially kind of
Is
came
Left
in
the Sound
more on
mad or
the
some shit?
it's cool end,
Tired.
but with nuance. But now I see that like there's a lot more nuance that's needed than just like, oh, that person can't be like too close to my house type of thing. More of like, this person needs to have a lot of conversation. So I guess I'm getting more towards the anti, but more of like a pro, but like with like an NDA included with it. So yeah. Okay, great.
We need to move on.
So,
This shit's taking way too
the next
long.
question is going to be essentially the same, but not really, which is, yeah, is it okay to sleep with smaller creators? Now, let's make it clear that I'm saying sleep, not date. Sleep, not date. Sleep.
Not date. What about what aren't they
Wait,
connected
I
though?
gotta-
Sometimes?
They can be, but it's more of like, is it okay to just strictly smash and dash? And
Like,
sometimes
hook
we
up.
call for another smash, and maybe a bit more of the
makes
dash.
it more clear. Yeah, because if you were to say just
Hook
sleep,
up.
right? Well, sleeping is just something.
oh
human
my
beings do.
god.
But smashing.
See,
This is some. This is
CCD,
weird.
Thank you for
See the logic, bro. It's the death rolls. The logic, bro. Nuance girl is where it's at.
yeah. So yeah, I like. No, you don't go out at all. No, you don't take them to dinner. No, you're not friends. Just pure insertion. Okay.
And so KataraNa, I guess I need a little, because it's like a really strange situation. Are we like all at TwitchCon or something, and we're just like, oh, hey, you're cute. Let's go to the hotel room type of situation, because that's what I would be weird because we all live in
Wait.
different
But
parts of
that
the
question is
country,
a
right?
weird
So
Can
like
we
if
strange
not?
I,
thing.
it's like I'm gonna
Well,
fly over
I
the
guess.
Maddies and
Well,
Did
I
we
you
just
guess
know,
say
that
one
came
though?
part of your clarification and nuance. You're nuanced girl, right? So
fine,
there you
fine,
go. Got him.
fair.
No,
Okay,
All
Sorry.
right,
great.
let's do
look,
this. Let's go. Let's
maybe
go.
you haven't been yet,
What,
right? But there's actually a back
CTV,
room
do you
labeled.
Let's
do you
go.
wanna
Let's
I don't know
go.
how
Let's
to
fucking
Fun.
go.
debate that because
okay?
Yeah, I'll go first. Sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
you want to go
what?
first? Let's
You know what?
talk to me about your sunroom. Let's
I'm
go.
gonna set the tone for the room. Why? Why am I gonna do this? Because there's like I'm married. I have sex with my wife. That's what we do. Our business in the bedroom is our business. Now that the disclaimer's out of the way, right? Now that the disclaimer's out of the way, here's the fact of the matter, okay? I really feel like as an artist, like in order for me to be able to create like all of the best content out there,
Is he gonna
especially
say?
whenever I've got partners that I'm
Best
working with on a regular basis, sometimes it's good to help alleviate tension in the room.
Oh
right?
my god! Shut the
Why
fuck up,
would you
bro.
not, right? And I mean, there's other famous figures from history, right, that
amazing.
had no problem making use of an Oval Office, right, to relieve some tension.
No
So
pulse.
The motherfucker got impeached for that.
Examples being set by those that are in power, right? And
He's
from
such a meme.
streamer to streamer, if you're especially considering, hey, consider this fact. Nobody did put the preface on it that it was Twitch or YouTube or OnlyFans. Nobody put a fucking preface on streamer, right? So it very well may be, right, that if you're getting into a more specific type of content, it may be actually par for the course, right? So, it's going to depend on the type of community that you're interacting with and all of these different things, right? So either we need to preface the question a little bit better, or it's just going to depend on whether or not two people actually want to and they're able to have a responsible and rational conversation about things before they actually take the step.
Okay. Perfect. So now I'm gonna throw it over to Maddie. I mean, sorry. Josie.
Oh, okay.
Oh my god! I'm chomping at the
So
bit
one of
here.
the things that I
I'm
think
ready.
is really, really important to note here is something that was said before. It's like powerful people with powerful people, but I'm not saying that content creators are powerful people, but they're at the same level, right? So one of the things you still have to worry about the power dynamics. Like if it's like a stream my millionaire, maybe you're like too much, but like as far as overall,
Let's
like
look
it's
at
kind of
my
like one of those
streaming
things. I
quality.
think that if we're all streamers or we're all content creators at the same level, or we're all doing that game, and we're at like a TwitchCon, or I'm driving through a state
Zero
that I
dropped
happen to know a
frames?
streamer is
That
at,
doesn't
and I'm
seem
just like, hey,
right.
let's have coffee, and then something leads to another. I don't think that's really a
Zero
problem
dropped
because I
frames
think it
seems
really
insane.
is just streamers and people
That's
who are at the
crazy.
same level and have the same lived experience and understand
Zero
the
dropped frames.
parasocial relationships. Also, content creators do watch other content creators, but it's not as so much as like a fan, for example. Like I'm a fan of a lot of content creators here, for example, but I watch, no offense, about 5 to 10% of your content, maybe, because I have to do my job, I have to do my streams. So I think there's a little bit less there. And if I'm really am interested in somebody, I don't really watch their content that much because I feel like I'm cheating. Like I'm going in and I'm like learning more about that person that I'm genuinely more interested in. So I think that like just I I was about to say smash and dash, but I guess that's what we're talking about. But I think it's okay as long as everybody understands. It's like, hey, this is cool.
Josie
this is
thinks
us.
it's
like,
okay.
you still have to take
Okay.
precautions.
Well, I'm gonna have to
obviously, if
hold
you're,
this
like, being
position by
a
myself.
particular type of content creator that like.
All right, later,
farms off
potato.
that
Have a good
stuff.
one.
But outside of that, I think
What
having a
the
drink at
hell
the
is
bar at a
happening?
TwitchCon is completely okay, and then going to a hotel room maybe. Don't y'all get ideas, okay? Like I'm just saying.
All I know, look, if there's somebody at this party that I want to be drinking with, it's Josie, right?
It's true.
Obviously.
I am.
Obviously.
What do you think I did at Future for your fest?
I'm really fun. I am fun.
She's fun.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dylan, how do you feel about this idea? And
Leaving
also,
with
can
friends?
you make it like, no, smaller creators, and can you make it clear whether or not you're pro or against?
I'm for it, but only if they're hot. But
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Didn't he say that about the fans?
Here's the thing. Like for me, there's a difference between a fan and a creator in a few key aspects, right? One of the biggest aspects I would say is that, for instance, if you're a creator, creators don't watch as much Twitch as I think people think they do. You might to get like a few ideas. I might click a few streams to like look at the ideas, but I'm not gonna sit down and watch any creator streams for hours, right? I already run the Hippy Dippy Championship program. I already do the most entertaining thing on the whole platform. Why would I downgrade myself by watching a Heem stream? I wouldn't. So that's why I don't watch other streams, and I'm sure everybody else doesn't. But so because of that fact, it's more difficult, I think, for streamers to get that same.
Okay, Dylan, just wait. Just
Shots
wait.
fired.
Just wait to see what happens when I get to talk.
Communication behind closed doors happens between streamers a lot more than it does with fans. Fans will talk and sit down and have conversations with other. Streamers will sit down, have conversations with other people than they will fans. I've messaged Heem more times than I've gone out and messaged my fans like one-on-one, right? And that's just one person, and that's true for basically everybody else on the platform probably that I've done work with. You're able to build that more personal kind of private like relationship. And who knows, since they're your work colleagues, a lot of times you can go out and like actually do stuff with them IRL. Like I've flown to LA multiple times and I've met Supreme in person. I've met IRI in person. I've met Booksmarts in person. These are people I've met IRL. Now I don't plan to date any of these people. Ew, old, right? But these are people I would be pretty confident in saying they're my
for CTV.
of course. But these are person I would be able to say that they're my friends, which I would never say to any of my fans that they're my friends. I even like had an experience where like I'll sometimes have like a mod or like a streamer like a chatter come on and say you're one of my best friends, Dylan, and I'll be like cool news, and then I'll never like reciprocate that type of interaction because it's not a good thing to do.
Beautiful. I'm going to give it away to Heem since you said that you never watched one of his streams. So,
Yeah, I mean, fuck you, first of all, first and foremost. My streams are lit as fuck, and where else are you gonna get a Persian accent and a beard cam? Okay, go fuck yourself. And second of all, I want to say, like, for real, I'm anti sleeping with smaller content creators. I think it's a recipe for disaster. I don't think that it's necessary. Whether it's sleeping with or dating, I think both are not a good idea, especially because they can be avoided so easily. Now, there are certain circumstances in which I think it makes it okay. If they're of similar size, then I think that you can kind of, I don't know, there it's less troubling. But another one is like, let's say one streamer is like a 500 viewer streamer, but makes a living as a streamer, and another streamer is like a 10,000 viewer streamer, obviously making a living as a streamer. I think as long as both of these people are making a living or this is their thing, then it kind of is a little bit more acceptable because you don't have the incentive, this person, the smaller creator is still going to make their living, whether or not they're dating that person or not, or sleeping with that person or not. And so that's one caveat I would say. Another one is
that doesn't make any sense though.
the
What is him
streaming
talking
in
about?
different categories. So let's say
You can talk about more about the drama
one reason that I
and the streamer
frown
using
upon it, I guess, or I don't think it's a good idea,
like a
is
creator for.
because people run in the same circles, and it kind of I think it's a better in the streaming space when you keep those circles professional. And that's how I've like, if anybody ever DMs me, I always respond in a professional way, and I think it's best to keep the spaces professional. And but if someone's let's say I don't know, I don't watch I don't know, give me a name of a game, who knows, fucking whatever, right? Whatever game. Let's say somebody's a streamer in a gaming category that I don't have any sort of connection to, and we just meet and they're like, hey, I stream on Twitch, and I'm like, oh, hey, I stream on Twitch, I'm a just chatting category, and they're like, I'm a, I don't know, crab game category. Then maybe you can say like, okay, there's no other connections here, whatever, we can explore this a little bit. But in general, I think again, going back to my point from the previous topic, there's so many people out there in the world. Why limit yourself to other content creators? That's my take.
Okay, name. Also, just as a clarification for you, Heem, it's basically like no, but with nuance.
No, I would say it's like no. I'm in the no category, but there are certain one or two ofs where I could say okay, fine, like I can, maybe we can talk about this, but I would say I'm definitely in the no camp. Don't do it.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, so yeah, name.
Yeah. So first
What
off,
the
where are
hell is
those TwitchCon
happening?
orgies? Okay, I'm asking for
Oh,
a friend. Secondly,
With that lighting you got, they're probably at your house.
yeah, I wish. Okay. Secondly, right. Earlier we compared a little bit like the fan relationships with like the power dynamics in professional settings. I think here we're in much closer to that, right? A much bigger streamer, and like what Heem was saying about categories, for example, that makes me think of like dating someone in different departments but in the same company. Someone's like a manager in this department, but someone else is a fucking like secretary in the other department. They meet in the cafeteria. They don't really have like their like one's just chatting, the other is crab game. I think that's fine. Unfortunately, Maddie was astutely pointed out in the previous conversation. There's no like HR, and there's no like Amazon HR isn't going to help us either. So it's definitely another situation where people just have to like actually act like adults and be mature and correct about things. But it's definitely it's a better situation than with a fan, 100%. There's similar risks involved, but also like Dylan pointed out, there's a lot more trust, a lot more to lose between streamers if someone breaks the trust that's established, starts leaking DMs or doing weird shit. So yeah, I'm for.
Okay, Paradigm.
Copy.
Paradigm
I'ma
had to
just
hear
say
my
Trisha
take
Paytas
first.
exists. Like at some point, for streamers, your audience is a live audience and not a YouTube audience catching up on what you put out. Like you're there, and if somebody
this is
stonewalks you and
getting.
is saying something about somebody, it causes a
1
lot more
second.
problems because then it enters the industrial clip complex.
What is he?
This is getting boring. I'm gonna go for now. This was a very lazy stream and I didn't do much, but I hope whoever sees this in the future gets some sort of enjoyment out of this boring thing. Bye. Have a good one. No one's watching, but still.